What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so this is a video request from one of my subscribers. Alright, and he asked a question. He asked, should LeBron's championship rings be just as criticized as Kevin Durant's when he joined the Warriors? And should that lower his ranking in the all-times listings? Well, you can make a case for it. Didn't they do the same thing? They both, in essence, did the same thing. LeBron started the trend of super teams, of players colluding with one another to go to a super team and increase their chances of winning a championship. And some people look at it different ways. Some people say, well, it's enriching the players. You know, why is it that you got to rely on the organization to put talent around you when maybe the organization that you're playing for is ineffectual and incompetent? You know, if you're playing for the Clippers, the chances of you winning a championship are a lot lower than, say, if you were playing for the Lakers, at least from a historical standpoint, right? So, I mean, there's sense in that argument. But if you collude with one of the, or two of the top 5 or 7 players in the NBA to go to a franchise that was already sort of marginal, like, you know, a playoff team, then yeah, that team is more than likely going to elevate into a championship level team, not dynasty level team, with 3 top 7 players in their primes healthy on the same roster. So you're all sort of stacking the deck in your favor. So there's an argument for both sides. The question is, why is one guy criticized a lot more than the other? I think it's a couple of reasons why KD is criticized more. Number one, the timing of why he did what he did. The timing of it. Well, not even why, the timing of what he did. You joined the Warriors, I think it was less than 6 weeks after they eliminated you in the conference finals. And it wasn't like it was a 4-0 sweep in the finals in the Warriors' favor. They had to come back from a commanding 3-1 deficit. So if you are a Thunder fan, you're saying to yourself, well damn, like, we had the Warriors beat. The Thunder are the ones that blew that lead. But in theory, if the 55 win, I think there were 55 wins that year. If the 55 win Warriors had the 73 win, the 55 win Thunder had the 73 win Warriors beat, well, in essence, they could beat this team. So why leave? So that bothered a lot of people. Like, from a competitive standpoint, you're joining the team that eliminated you. And while a lot of people bring up Charles Barkley and the Rockets, it's not exactly the same thing. And here's why. You know, when Charles Barkley joined the Rockets, the difference is, and these are the differences. Charles Barkley joined the Rockets during the 1996 offseason. Okay? The Rockets won the championship in 95, the 94-95 season, during the playoffs. They eliminated the Suns in 1995. During the 1995-96 season, that was the first year you could see a decline, any perceptible decline, in Hakeem Olajuwon's game. Also, the Rockets were just not the same team in 95-96. They were a good team, but they weren't the same team they had been the year before, or 2 years or 3 years before that. They faltered. The Suns, who won 59 games in 95, were not the same team in 95-96. They went 41-41 that year. They lost Dan Marley to free agency, if I remember correctly. Went to play with Cleveland. KJ was done. They lost a lot of guys to free agency. They weren't the same team. They were a mediocre team. And the Phoenix Suns let it be known that they were in a rebuilding process. The Rockets were not the same team that they were before. And in the playoffs, I think they lost in the first round to the Sonics. And I think the Suns lost in the first round to, it may have been the Spurs. So these two teams were not the same teams or in the same hierarchy they had been in 95. That set the stage for Charles Barkley to get traded to the Rockets. It's a difference. You can still kind of argue, well, he joined a team that beat him before, but it wasn't the same circumstances with KD. KD joins a team that just eliminated him and that would end the finals less than a month before that. And that's what led to the criticism from a competitive standpoint. At least with Charles Barkley, the Suns were rebuilding, the Rockets were rebuilding. They weren't the same teams. Then, another thing that hurt KD is you got to remember when LeBron went to the Miami Heat, one of the biggest critics of LeBron was KD. Remember he put out that tweet? He didn't directly say LeBron's name, but he was talking about it. Well, man, what happened to competition? Why can't we just go out there and compete? You know, he's one of the biggest critics of that. But the pressure to win championships began to mount on him. It began to build on him. And ultimately, he left in free agency and went to play for the Warriors. And I think the way that the pressure built on KD is the same way it built on Dame Lillard. And that's disappointing with Dame Lillard. It's disappointing. Now, should LeBron be criticized just as much? Yeah. But you got to remember, KD is a powerful player, but he doesn't have the media influence that LeBron has. LeBron has so many sycophants, influencers in the media, to the point where they're not going to criticize him. They're always going to spin things so that other people get the blame when they lose, the Lakers or any team that LeBron's on. When they win, they're going to get all the praise. We know the deal. So the mainstream media is not going to criticize him. They're not going to hold anything against him, and they're going to put him at a different standard as opposed to other players. To me personally, yeah, I think it should go against LeBron's legacy that he's been on all these damn super teams. And I think it does hurt him. I saw an interesting graphic the other day that since July of 2010, LeBron's teams have been part of approximately 120 trades versus 35 trades for the entirety of Michael Jordan's career. That's a lot of swapping and swapping and rebuilding and deck stacking and flipping and flapping, all for a 4-6 finals record. Now, at the end of the day, KD did win 2 championships, and he got 2 finals MVPs. And I don't think those LeBron teams were as overmatched as they make it out to be. In hindsight, they weren't as overmatched as we make it out to be. Because you got to remember, the Warriors bench, as a consequence of the Kevin Durant signing, their bench was pretty damn thin. Their bench was pretty thin, and it caught up to them in the 2019 finals when they was playing Toronto without Kevin Durant. But anyway, so my point is, I think that when you look at the Cavaliers, especially 2017, when Kyrie was there, the Cavaliers were a super team too. Got to remember, LeBron was playing at the apex of his powers. Kyrie Irving was in his athletic prime. And Kevin Love was only a couple years removed from being a 26-15 guy. So, it is what it is. But yeah, that's just my take on it, man. I think that, should it lower LeBron's ranking? Yeah, it should. But it's not. Because the media, La media, are going to make sure that they don't push that. They're going to ignore the fact that LeBron left Cleveland because he couldn't beat Boston. They conveniently omit that. But they'll lie and tell you that LeBron is the one that took down the Celtic team. He's the one that ended the Pistons dynasty. They're making up shit. It's not true. It's not true at all. Age and attrition and the front office ended the Celtic dynasty. LeBron didn't. They made him leave Cleveland, which is something the bad boy Pistons weren't able to do with Jordan. They weren't able to run Jordan from Chicago. And for all this talk about LeBron ended the Detroit Pistons dynasty, how is that the case when the very next year in 2008 they were back in the Eastern Conference Finals playing against the Celtics? So how did he end the dynasty when the very next year they were back in the conference finals when LeBron was eliminated in the second round? So anyway, that's what I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.